I think it's foolish. I'll tell you what. I agree with Georgie. This is what I'm saying. I do definitely think every great manager has a philosophy and they're set on their ways. For the most part, they adjust and they make little adjustments here. And that's the part that bothers me is that he doesn't make any adjustments. He says this is the way we're going to play, regardless of whatever's happening, and that's what really bothers me.
But so it's funny you say that though, because question for you, and I think Georgie might laugh at this, but if you look at what he doesn't change really for any game. But you know what he's trying to do. It's clear. They have a clear way forward. But on the other hand, we talk so much trash to Ten Hag, who is almost the opposite. He tactically changes every game. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what United is going to show up. Are they going to start with these players or those players? How are they going to play? Are they going to attack or are they not? And in a 4 days time frame, they go from a super defensive performance against Newcastle away, completely and totally change the tactics and are on the front foot against Chelsea. He's getting results, but with no clear long-term vision on where they're going. Ange is not getting results, but with at least a clear-cut vision on where you're going. You're very rarely going to have both. If you had to pick one or the other, which one do you want?
Well, that's the thing. Is I don't think you have to pick one or the other. I think you have to, I respect Ange for saying this is the way we want to play. This is the way we want to play. But if you're down, for example, we've all been in games like this where we talk about our philosophy is, okay, we're going to build out of the back, we're going to try and possess, and we're going to have a clear game plan on how we want to get to the attacking third. If you're down 1-0 in a game and you haven't created any opportunities, and you have to chase the game if you want to stay in it, what do? Towards the end, you start putting numbers forward and you start pumping the ball along because you have to score. So
you don't trust the process and say, hey, we're going to get there?
No, because there's some games where you have to make the adjustment and even the players are going to be looking at you like this isn't working. So what do? We need to do something. It's okay to tell the players this is how we want to play, but at the same time, you have to read the situation to understand that we need to make changes in order to win games, because that's the whole point. The whole point isn't to establish a philosophy and a style of play. The whole point is to win games. So for me, it bothers me when he's just like, this is who we're going to be, when it's clear that who you're trying to be or who you're going to be in that game is going to lose you the game against Chelsea. It's clear that no matter what happens, there's a 99% chance that Tottenham lose that match because of the way that they played.
They also had two. I mean,
but you got to admit,
two players.
Right. But Liverpool were down 2 players against Tottenham, and Liverpool almost got a draw. And the only reason they didn't was in the last minute there was an own goal. Otherwise, they get a draw.
They also have Alisson in goal, standing on his head for part of that game.
But when you're looking at the possibilities of that game, where Liverpool, what are the chances that they tie?
At the end of the game, the result was the same. So what does it matter?
Because the chances are higher. So with Liverpool...
But the result was the same. And the difference is at least Ange has now... If the result's going to be the same either way and it's not going to be great, I at least want to set myself up and build for the future.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the result wasn't always... the chances... So if I tell you to do something that has a 99% probability that it's going to fail, or a 40% probability that it's going to fail, which one are you going to choose? For me, that game against Liverpool, there was a very high chance, especially towards the end, that Liverpool comes out with a tie. Whereas the other one, for me, there's no chance on it. No chance.
Yeah,
so
what would you? But I guess when you compare, I keep going back to, and I look in my head, or I think in my head, just comparing Spurs and Manchester United, both newer managers, changing their teams, building something really from nothing. Because neither one of that, Harry Kane's obviously left, so Tottenham has to reform themselves into what they want to be. And from a point standpoint, we're 15 games in, and they're on the same amount of points.
Yeah.
And at least Ange has more big players injured, and he's building for the future. And I think they're clearly progressing towards a good destination. Where Ten Hag is kind of doing the opposite and trying just to, I think, get points and get results.
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying is this, is that I agree with you on the long-term plan. I think that's how you should go about it. I think Ange should say this is how we want to play and this is what our philosophy is going to be. But when you're down to 9 men, the philosophy has to go out the window. You cannot play the same way. You have to change something up. And I'm not saying change it long term. I'm saying change it for 20 minutes to try and get yourself the highest chance of winning the game. Come after the game, go into the locker room and say, boys, that's not how we wanted to end the game, or that's not how we wanted to play, and that's not the adjustments that we wanted to make. But fair play for making the adjustments that gave us the best possibilities of winning the game. So like he was, first of all, he said that right after the interview. He said, "This is who we are, and this is how we're going to play." And then recently, they asked him a question about his philosophy, and he said, "I think when managers say, 'This is the way I want to play,' but I don't have the players, you should just do it, mate. Don't worry if you don't have the players." And I disagree with that as well. I think if you, again, long term, it takes time to reform a club and to restructure to get to the point where you want to be. Klopp did it, Manchester City did it with Pep. Klopp said, "This is who we want to be in 3-4 years' time. We need a little bit of time to build it." But even during that whole time that Klopp was trying to restructure Liverpool and turn it into what it is now, during games he had to make adjustments to give himself the best result. I just fear that Ange is going to go stick to his philosophy so much that he's going to be out of a job in a couple months, because at the end of the day, the results are the most important.